Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me for Pilates Sculpt, all levels, where we take a lot of the concepts of Pilates and kind of fuse it with full body, functional, multi-joint movement, a little bit of weight work, a bunch of balance work. It's going to be so fun. If something doesn't feel right in your body today, don't do it. Feel free to opt out. I'm happy to offer modifications. If you know a way you want to modify already, that's fine too. We're going to start standing. And our props today are weights and a ball. If you're at home and you don't have those, you can use wine bottles, water, gallon jugs for weights, or a pillow folded a couple times for the ball. And first, we're just going to check in with our body, right? So shift your weight forward and back over your toes and just notice what your body is doing, right? So if you start to bring a little bit of weight into your toes and all of a sudden you flex at the hips, or your ribs pop, or your knees hyperextend, that could just mean that you're not used to having weight on your big toe mound. And then just come back to center and kind of make sure that you're over your ankle joint and not behind it. Now bend your knees and straighten them a couple times just to see if you've got a little bit of restriction at the front of your ankle. Good. Two more. If as you bend your knees, all of a sudden your heel sneaks in or your toe sneaks out, it could indicate ankle restriction, right? It's just information. Last one. Good. And then we're just going to stick your booty out a little and then tuck it under a couple times. So when we stick our tail feathers back, we're coming into hip flexion. And then as we scoop, we're coming into some hip extension. Even if it means our knees bend, it's fine. Two more. Notice what your knees do when your hips move, and then find center. We're gonna find our ribs, right? So we're gonna lift our ribs to the sky and then collapse our ribs down a couple times. So if you think of your pelvis like a soup pot, your ribs are gonna be like the lid, right? If they're lifting, steam's escaping front. If they're collapsing, steam is escaping back. Last one. Then just set the ribs over your hips and just see where your shoulders are. We're actually going to move them. So thinking of your scapula more than your shoulders themselves, let them come forward and then let them come back. Good. And trying not to move our spine here. So a lot of times we tend to over grip through our erectors. Good. Gymnastics? Yeah. So when you do this, try to keep this, help it, yeah. Good. Two more. Good. And then bring your shoulders up to your ears. And then let them just gently slide down. And again, draw them up. Now, let's just for fun, think of just lifting our arm bones. And then instead of thinking of lifting our arm bones, think of your scapula sliding up and then sliding down. Good. Let the shoulder blades move on your rib cage. Good. And then we're going to do little circles with them. Bring them forward, up, and around. Good. Think of that sliding like they are ice skating, right? Good. A lot of times when we have a really mobile joint, our natural inclination is to try to force it to not move in order to stabilize it. But we're supposed to be able to move these bad boys. And then other direction. Down, together, up. Good. Couple more. Good. Two. Last one. Find center. So think of your collarbones being wide, like you're trying to take off a big jacket. Yes. Good. And then just let your head come forward and then draw it back. Yep. And then forward and then back. Two more. Last one. End with that like kind of double chin position, and then don't let it come all the way forward, just let it relax a little. So your ears are pointing up. Gorgeous, everybody. Yeah. So nice neutral spine. We're gonna nod our chin and then hollow out through the front, rolling all the way down. And just kind of see what feels. Give me a little chin nod, like nod your head yes, and then a gentle little shake of your head no, and then nod yes. Good. Now take one hand. So your right hand, we're going to take it to your left ankle And just kind of rotate so you can look underneath your left armpit a little bit. Come back to center. Let's do it again, same side. Last one. And then other side. Now, if you don't have the hamstring flexibility to get your hands to the ground, that's okay. It's the same move. You just don't have to let your hand come all the way down. Yeah. Good. Couple more on this side. Last one. Come all the way down onto hands and knees. So nice quadruped position. Now, if you want to use your mat, that's great. If you're like, I hate being on my wrists, you can either be on your forearms or use your weights. I'm just going to have my hands off of my mat to start because they don't love the instability. So first, just bring your shoulder blades together. Let your sternum sink down to the ground. Now widen through your collarbones, push the floor away. So we're lifting, but we're not overly rounding. And then sink it down, press away, hold. Good, keep your arms straight. So squeeze your triceps, lift your ribs to the sky a little bit. Good. Now make sure that you're pulling your belly button up to help alleviate an anterior tilt of that pelvis. Slide one foot out. Good. Push the foot into the ground, making connection to the ground. And then slide it back, other side. Now, as you're pressing into the ground, let your ankle move, right? We're not just pushing into our toe, we're actually pushing into our heel. Good, couple more. Now, we are going to slide one foot out, slide the other foot out, hold. Good, and breathe. Good, lift your hips more than you think you need to. Tuck your tailbone a little, yeah, good. Suze, lift your hip bones. There you go, good. Beautiful, everybody. Now, we're going to hinge around our shoulders as we tap our knees into a knee plank. Lift your ears, Nancy, and then straighten your legs. Good. So back to your regular plank. Tap the knees down, knee plank. Don't let your head drop. Good. So think of your head being one vertebra, right? And if your spine is still, you're hinging around your shoulders, right? We're trying not to let the spine move. Tuck your tailbone, Nance. Thank you. Good. Last one, belly button up. Lift your hip bones and belly button. Yes, that. Last one, knees down. Press yourselves into a little rest position. Yeah, you're welcome. Hands up and over to one side. Press your hips away. Good. And then other side. Coming back to center. Now we're coming back to our quadruped. Once again, if you need to, you can always have your fists on the ground. You can hold your weights here. If you're on your hands, put a little bit more pressure through your pointer finger. Good. And then tuck your toes under. Now, press your hands into the ground, lift your belly button, push your feet down. Maybe your knees hover. Yeah. And then the knees can tap down, press, knees hover. And then down. Good. So as we do this, I really want you to think about your breath, right? So as you inhale, we're inhaling into our back and sides. And as we're exhaling from the front, trying to keep that intra-abdominal pressure in your back to stabilize your spine. Two more. Try not to drop your knees down, slowly lower them. Last one, hold. Press more into your right hand as your knees look to your left elbow. Come back to center. Press more into your left hand as your knees look to the right and back. If you need to, you can be on all fours and you can bring a knee across. So if being in that upright position and moving both of your knees isn't for you today, bring it one at a time. Good. Good. Keep pushing into the hands to lift your, yeah, there you go. It's easy to kind of sink into the shoulder without meaning to. So if we initiate by pushing more into that hand, it's a little bit more connected. Knees down. Roll out your wrists. How you guys feeling? Anybody warming up a little? Yeah, great. We're gonna come on to forearms. And no, please let this be over prayer position. We want railroad tracks, okay? Cool. So coming down onto our forearms, press the floor away and slide one foot out at a time, widening through your feet. Good. Now, keeping that pressure in your elbows, let your feet point towards one way. Yeah. And then the other side. Good. And back and forth. One more each way. Now, we're going to rotate our whole body. Good. Beautiful. And if we have our feet exactly in the same place, we don't even have to mess with them. Coming back, other side. Still breathing wide. Now, pay attention to that bottom glute. Press the foot into the floor to help lift you, top inner thigh. If this is still too intense for any reason, bend a knee, right? If you're like, that still sucks, bend both knees, right? If you're like, I hate a forearm plank, be on your hands. Yeah, good, no problem. Make the exercise work for you. Don't force yourself to try to do the version that you think you should do. Do what works for you. One more each side. Good. Nice job, everybody. Knees down. Press yourselves into your rest position. And come all the way up. Now, while we're down here, all we're gonna do is see if we can come into a little bit of hip extension with our knees bent. That's it. So squeeze your butt, come up onto your knees. Now, if your back arched, or your ribs popped, or your hip bones are still pointing down, that indicates that that's a hard position for you. So come back down, think about the glutes, bringing your pubic bone forward, think of your plank position. Good, and hip hinge down. Good, couple more. Squeeze forward, and then just pay attention to what your feet are doing, right? If they're touching together, that could indicate that your psoas is tight, right? Or if they're apart, it could indicate that your TFL is tight, right? Two more. Think about squeezing, lengthening your ears up. Good. Last one. We're coming all the way up, however you need to. Nice. All right. So go ahead, bring your feet pretty much underneath your sits bones, a little bit wider. Think about squeezing your inner thighs together like you're trying to pop a balloon. Nice, wide feet. Now, spiral your thigh bones out by getting your glutes to activate. We lift one foot, hold, just see where we are. Good. Now, if you're on the mat, that is a little bit more challenging for balance because it's a squishy surface, right? If you're like, whew, too much, come onto the floor. If you need to, hold on to something. You guys all look amazing. We're just gonna hold. And if you would like, close an eye. And then switch. And then switch. And switch. Feel your feet move if they need to, that's okay. Our bodies are meant to move, we're just not hanging out, right? We're pushing the floor away, finding that underbutt to help lengthen through the front. Good, other side. That was amazing, you guys. Nobody like fell, no. So squeeze the glute as well as pushing into the floor. Let's see, right? And notice how one side might feel in comparison to the other. So for example, if you have scoliosis, you might be trying to hike on one side and you weren't on the other. Or if one of your glutes isn't as strong as the other, you might be trying to go into an internally rotated position. It's all information. None of it's necessarily bad. It's just info. And feel free to close one or both eyes. If you're like, why is this important? I'll tell you. Walking, gait, right? Most of our actions throughout our day are actually pretty unilateral. A couple more breaths here. Just feel what your body's trying to do. Yeah, gorgeous, yeah, amazing. You're like, this is so easy. And then both feet down. All right, so now we're going to try to come into hip extension before knee extension, which means we're not locking out through our knees. Bend your knees forward. Keep your ribs gently drawing in, squeeze your butt forward a little bit, okay? So let your knees actually be on top of your toes, if not forward, if that feels okay, and you can do it without pain, okay? Now, just tip forward from your hip bones, and then press into the floor here. Keep your knees bent, squeeze up. It's a little tricky at first. We're just starting slow. So keep the knees at their angle, and then keep the knees at their angle. Maybe they move forward a little, but we're not bending or straightening them. Deborah, stick your butt out. Nope. So your knees are perfect there. Hinge from your hips. Yeah, good, just like that. Now keep your knees right where they are. Squeeze your butt forward to lift your body. Keep your knees still. Yeah, it's awkward at first, isn't it? Yeah. Last one. Suze, ribs, squeeze your butt forward more. Okay, no. So you can come upright. Keep coming upright. Keep your knees bent. Yeah, there you go. Good. Now, if this is where you are, perfect. Otherwise, we're gonna tap one toe. So we're basically taking this into a single leg version of this. It is a hip hinge, but we're then still coming into hip extension before knee extension. Good. And again. Now, if this is real easy and you're like, yeah, I know that I feel my glute and it's fine, but I want more work, lift your foot. Thinking of those hip bones hinging around the thigh bone. We're not rounding our back or arching. We found our plank position earlier, right? Yeah. And that is really important for things like hip hinges. Is it bad to move our spine? No, we need to be able to move our spine, but we also need to be able to stabilize it without force. So we're trying to breathe and use our breath to find easy stabilization as opposed to having to squeeze everything, right? Let your force meet the effort needed. Last two. Good. So it's a hip hinge. Why are we not hip hinging with a straight knee? I'll tell you. One, if we hip hinge with a straight knee, it just changes the work. It brings it more to your hamstring and erectors as opposed to glute and soleus. Hold this one down. Tap your toe down. Now, ignore this leg, it doesn't exist. You can lift it if you want. We're going to rotate our hip bones and ribs at the same time towards that knee. So think of your inner thigh pulling you down. Now, push into the ground, use your glute to rotate yourself back to center. Yeah. And then inner thigh, and then press. Now, if you have a really easy way of like rotating extra through your spine, be deliberate about it, right? Keep it together like a plank, and then if you want, you can rotate more, and then back to plank, okay? Everyone feeling that glute on the way back to center? Yeah. 3 more. And 2. Gorgeous. Last one. Beautiful, beautiful. Hold it back to center. Now, you have options here. You can stick with what you were doing. You can move your foot back. Same thing. But then come back to center and then rotate your hips the opposite way and back. Or you can float that foot up, but keep it really close to the floor just in case. Or if you're like, I've done these before, they're easy, they're fine. Bring yourself into a T position. I have not done these in this T position in a long time, so I am choosing my toe down or hovering. Keeping that knee lined up with your second or third toe. 2 more. Try not to grip your toes if they're starting to grip. Last 1. Come all the way back up. Now, you're gonna push into the floor, come into knee extension as well. Hopefully, your ankle, knee, and hip are all stacked. Nice, good. Other side. Nobody's as excited for other side. Okay, same side again. Oh, other side, okay, great. All right, so let's just start with knees bent. We're gonna do the double leg, the bilateral, before we go to unilateral again, right? Knees bent, upright ears. Now, slide your tail feathers back, and then come up, keep your knees bent, ears to the sky. Not eyes to the sky, ears. Hey, gang. So there's this really cool thing. I don't know, I think it's really cool. It's like our ocular system and our motor system. We have ocular motor patterns, right? So just for fun, hang out down for a second. Now look at your belly button as you try to come up. And all of a sudden it's like harder to find upright, right? Now, look at your eyebrows as you try to come up, right? Our spine wants to extend. So now, bend forward, try to keep your gaze just coming with the rest of your body. And all of a sudden it's a little easier to find, right? Yeah. Now, we're gonna tap that toe, same thing. Press into the floor, bring it up. Good. Still trying to keep that knee relatively soft. Good, how's this side feeling? So fresh, so easy, right? There's also something called the pelvo-ocular reflex, which tells us, you guys keep going, that if our hips move, our eyes move. And then also if our eyes move, our hips want to move, right? So it's awesome because it can help us. Like when we're doing extension, if you look towards your eyebrows, or if you're doing flexion, you can look towards your nose, helps us get into those positions. If you'd like, of course, you can lift that foot. Still trying to find hip extension before knee extension. Good. You guys can tell I'm real fun at parties. I'm like, well, actually, your fascia. Couple more. Good. 3. Good. 2 more. Relax your toes. And just notice if one side is more exciting than the other, right? And then bring it back. We're gonna tap that toe down to start. Think about your whole, like your hips and ribs moving at the same time towards that leg. So your inner thigh just pulled you down. Now that glute is gonna bring it back. Hold. Use your breath here, right? And bring it back, yeah. Good, few more. How's this feeling, everybody? Great? Anyone not feeling their glute helping stabilize them? Anyone not feeling their inner thigh on the way in? Good. Couple more. Now, if you're like, I'm gonna need to keep my toe down for this, it's fine. But we're gonna come back to center and then rotate the other way, trying not to let that knee collapse in. Knee stays in line with that second or third toe. Good. Couple more. Breathing, feeling what your arch is doing, right? If your arch needs to lift and lower, that's okay. If you need to hold on to something just a little, that's great. Now, if I'm in between foot down and foot up, actually pushing the foot into the wall gives me a little bit of support and a little bit more of that innervation to get more muscle recruitment throughout. Last two. Last one. Come all the way back up. Nice job, you guys. Nice wide stance. Now, first we're gonna move from our toes, then we're gonna move from our hips, okay? So just moving from your toe, externally rotate a little, and look at where your knees are in comparison to your feet, right? Now, bring your toes back. Now, try to move from your hip joint. Your toe is just along for the ride. Spiraling from the hip joint, spiraling from the hip joint, and see where that is now, right? So, we're gonna try it again. Spiral from the hip joint, spiral from the hip joint. Good. Keep that rotation from the thigh bone, slide down. Now you can bring your hands down, and if your feet are really close together, it's actually a lot harder. So you can walk your feet out a little, have more of like a sumo squat rather than a plie, okay? We're just gonna sink down, press into the floor, lift yourself up. Now, if a plie feels better for you, say you took dance for years and years, and that is what your body is more comfortable doing, I'm not mad about more of a plie, okay? Good. Couple more here. Gorgeous. 3. Now, as we work, stay out of the range of knee pain, okay? Last one. Bring yourself up. We're rotating one foot and then our body. Slide it down. Come up. Rotate. Center. Rotate. Down. Now, as we rotate, if you feel your knees being tweaky, right? Are you only rotating from your hip and leaving your toe behind? I need you to pivot. Okay, good. And back, slide down, good. Up, rotate, gorgeous. Now also check in. If you're like, man, this is a lot of pressure on my knees. If you are just going straight up and down, it is a lot more work. So you can let your shoulders come ever so slightly forward so your glutes can help you out a little bit. Okay, last set. Good. Nice job, everybody. We're gonna come on to our knees. I'm gonna turn my mat to the side for a second. Good. Now, press your knees into the ground, slightly out so your glutes kick on. Lift a foot. Now, and then other side. Good. Back and forth, and just notice what your strategy is, right? For example, on one side, I hike from my entire hip. On my other side, my leg wants to internally rotate, right? So see if you can allow the strategies to just be a little bit more centralized. Now hold, inhale, bring your knee forward. Exhale, lift and bring it down. Yeah, inhale, exhale, lift it. Two more like this. Should be getting easier. I think your feet are just too spread out. Bring your back foot closer to your front foot closer to your back knee. So you're gonna have your balance more on your back leg. Yeah, good. Now, step that foot down. Tuck your back toe. Push into the ground. You've just gotten up off the ground. Slowly lower. Switch sides. Good. So inhale, exhale. This side is my exciting side, right? Maybe the other side was your exciting side. No judgment, just observation. Couple more. 2. Last one. And then bring it down. Tuck your toes. Press into the ground, lift up. Slowly lower. And switch legs. Now, as we do this, if you have trouble getting up and down, no worries. Put your hands on your thigh. Press into your leg, think forward rather than straight up. Okay? If you're at home and you're like, I need a chair, great, grab a chair. This is all practice. Yeah. And then, if you want, and only if you want, when you come up, you lift the leg, hold, and see if you have to use it the whole time. Yeah. Now, if you're like, okay, sagittal plane is easy, great. You can take it onto your transverse plane. All that means, you're gonna bring it out to the side, rotate your body, and then rotate your body the other way. And then to the side, rotate. Good. And if for any reason you're like, that doesn't work for me, okay, stick with sagittal plane. Yeah. Good. Couple more. Good. Nice job, everybody. We're almost there. And by there, I mean to some other delightful destination. Good. Last one. Come all the way down. When you're ready, we're doing one more plank. Go ahead. Press your hands on the ground, lift your hips. And you can bring one knee out to the side and back if you want. Or you can just hold your plank. Or you can do front support, which is just knee down. Now keep your arms straight unless you want to add a push-up in between, in which case add a push-up. I'm not push-upping today, but you have that option. 2 more. Last set. Knees down. Press yourselves into a rest position. Rolling out your wrists. Hands up and over one side. Press your hips away. And then other side. Go ahead, come back into your plank to downward dog. And pedal through your feet and start bringing your hands towards your feet or feet towards your hands. Whatever works best for you, it's fine by me. Dangle out of your hips. Roll all the way up and grab your weights. Now, we're gonna do some biceps to start. If you're like, this is gonna be too easy, you can put both sets of weights if you grab multiple sets, or just squeeze your muscles, right? pretend somebody's like, show me your guns, and you're actually going to try, all right? So first, bend both of your arms, and then resist gravity, right? For 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Exhale. Now, if you're like, this is too easy, man, we have all the options in the world. You guys ready? So eccentric resistance works best if you can almost move it concentrically, but not quite, right? So if you would like more of a challenge, bring as heavy a weight, one hand as you can. If you can't quite get it there, use your other hand to help you, and then resist on the way down. And then you can use your other arm for help, then resist all the way down. Couple more. Good. Try not to lean with your whole body. And it's more about on the way down. 5, 4, 3, 2. Last set. Now, if you're using one weight in both arms, stick with that. Otherwise, we're just switching hands. And everybody, we're switching legs. Bring it up, hold it. Slow, mindful deceleration. So the cool thing about eccentric work is it actually, even though we're not shortening the distance between our joints, it actually produces more force to work eccentrically. So you'll be getting, that's right, stronger, faster. So nice, right? Yeah. Good. All right, last one. Oh, I'm getting tired from this 20 pounds, geez, or 16 pounds. All right, go ahead, bring your hands to your shoulders. Now, instead of being out here, we're gonna bring our elbows and hands about 30 degrees forward. Yeah, not quite 9, yeah. And press up. Now, if we arched, close the ribs. Slowly lower. Exhale, press. Yeah, good, Nancy. Think about opening your collarbones just a little bit more on the way up. Wait, elbows slightly forward. Yes, good. Yeah. So what actions might you need this range for? Lifting what? Yeah, putting dishes away. My favorite at my household is trying to reenact The Lion King with a 20-pound cat. Like that's when they hold Simba up. No, you don't do that at home? Notice how I said a 20-pound cat and not a 3-legged cat. Noodles would rip me to shreds. 2 more. Good. Nice, everybody. Good. And slowly lower. All right. Bring your elbows in. Boop. Now, as you do this, we're not trying to get that shoulder to roll forward and up. Keep your elbows right where they are. Think about pressing your knuckles down and then pressing them back through mud. Good. And then let them bend. And reach down and back. Guys, I know that you all love MC Hammer, but he's just too quiet. You want me to turn him up or skip him? You're like, who's MC Hammer? Good. Few more. So, all right. Press down and hold. You're welcome. Good. Now we're gonna keep that isometric contraction. Hold. Yeah, that's where that excitement is, isn't it? And then bend. Reach it back. Hold. Good, let's do a few more. Yeah. So a couple months ago, I found out something really neat about the triceps. Yeah, I'm so glad somebody wants to know. So you have 3 heads of your triceps, right? But only one insertion point. So the insertion point is at your ulna. Your ulna is a fixed joint. But all 3 heads attach to different places in your shoulder, and they all have different muscle fibers. So one is more like type 1, one is more type 2, and one is a combination, which I just thought was pretty neat. We're gonna hold it back. And then just tiny little squeezes. Squeeze, squeeze. 5, 4, good. 3, 2, hold. Flip your palms back. Press. Yeah. So even though we moved from our radius, our shoulders moved, which means we're getting a slightly different portion. 2, hold. Knuckles back, palms down, let the hands widen and press back. Good. Yeah, doing okay? Good. Yeah. 5, 4, 3, 2, hold, bring your hands together. Press them overhead. Shoulders melt a little bit, ribs draw in. Bend your elbows, and then reach. Now, if your elbows are really far forward and you can't get there, instead, you're going to, Nancy, this is for you. I'm gonna bring the arms to the sky, arm bones down, and just bend at the elbow and bring it up. So use the floor for support. Yeah, and then squeeze your tricep at the top. That feel better? Okay. Good. Hey, Suze. Stinky hand, yep. Yeah. And then close your ribs a little bit, yeah. 3. Good. 2. Nice job, everybody. Last 1. Slowly come down. We're gonna come all the way onto hands and knees. Now, much like with our tricep work, it's not about getting as far back as possible. In fact, before we do this, I want us to try to find posterior tipping of our shoulder blades, okay? So with our shoulder blades, anterior tipping is here. Let's all try it. No, posterior tipping is the opposite way. So it's like a tuck under. Bring your hands to your shoulders. Your elbows will be a guide. Don't retract, so elbows slightly forward. Yeah, good. Tip forward, and then tip it back. Now, see if you can do that without your erectors grabbing, so ribs stay in. Yeah, good. Boom. Nancy, try this. Elbows forward more. No? Elbows? Yes, that. That's where you're gonna go. And then boom. Good. Yeah. One more. So you're retracting just a little bit. So when you keep your elbows right where they are, just try to rotate here back. Yeah. Do you feel a little bit more of that lower trap? Yeah. Good. So what we're trying to do is not just squeeze our rhomboids, which is what our body tries to do a lot. We're trying to find those lower trapezius and serratus muscles, okay? Good. Now, hold this. Bring your elbows here. Think about squeezing the bottom tips of your shoulder blades down, and then you can retract slightly. Yeah, do you feel your back now? A little bit? Like, good. That is the position of our row. So we're going to now try to find this again, but with weight. You guys excited? I am. Okay, so shoulders down. Try to find that same position of that shoulder. And then set it down. Try to find the same position of the shoulder. The first time doesn't necessarily count, right? Good. And so, for example, I have trouble finding it on this side. And so what my body wants to do is this. So I have to be really diligent about finding that tipping in that lower trap. Good. Yeah. Good. Good. Let me hold there, Nancy. That actually looks pretty good. Think about your elbow, push it. Nope, listen to me before you move. Think about your elbow just pushing straight behind you. Not up, down just a little towards the window. Or what is that? Mirror. Yes, that. Good. Apparently I don't know the difference between mirrors and windows. So yeah, yeah, better. So hopefully you guys are feeling your stabilizers, your postural muscles, rather than just the erectors, or like pec minor and neck muscles, right? Good. 2 more. Good. Last one each side. Actually, you all look really spectacular, in case you were wondering. Good. And we're coming on to our back. One last tricep. Nancy, you just did this? Yeah, same thing. So as we do this, before we kind of start moving, feel your shoulder blades underneath you. Try to let them be flat on the floor as opposed to the bony protuberances pressing into the floor. Straightening your arms from your triceps. If you just protracted your shoulders and kind of lifted your arm bones too far forward, let your shoulder blades be flat again. If you want more work, well, more challenge, keep your hands apart. Or you can keep your hands together. Hands together, even though both arms are working, they're using each other for support. So it kind of turns it into a bilateral move, like a squat, rather than a unilateral move, like a lunge, right? So if you want to test that unilateral stability, separate your hands. Couple more here. 3, 2, last 1. Bring the arms down. Hands behind your head, interlace them. Spiral your elbows slightly forward. Now, for this first one, we're gonna lift, or we're coming into a chest lift, but lift or look at your eyebrows. It's kind of hard to come up, right? Now, lengthen through your ears. Just look at your knees or in between your thighs. It's a little easier to find that flexed position, right? Give me a couple more. If it looks like I'm winking at you, I got a little bit of fuzz in my eye, so I apologize if you're like, man, I thought it was a flirty wink. 2 more. Last one, we're gonna hold it up. Go ahead, bring your fingertips forward. Push them into an imaginary surface to curl up just a little bit. Hold that. Bring your fingertips towards the sky, interlace and hold. Push one foot into the floor, other knee lifts up to a tabletop position. Step that foot down, push that foot into the floor, float it back up, back and forth. So don't ignore the ground. We're actually using the ground as a prop. So push and float. Good. Couple more. If you need to bring your head down, is that okay? Yeah, of course. 2 more. Trying to keep your hips and pelvis relatively still. Last one, hold. Bring your other leg up to meet it. Squeeze your inner thighs together as if you're trying to pop that balloon. Let both knees start to go away from your face. Exhale, float them back up. Use your breath. Couple more. You don't have to go all the way to the ground, but try to let the knees move as opposed to, let the knees move away from your face, letting your hips be where the movement is coming from, rather than the knees being where the movement is coming from. And if as you do this, you realize that you're starting to look at the sky, reconnect, look forward at your inner thighs. Look at your inner thighs. Yep, 2 more. How's everybody doing? Great. Last one, bring your feet down. Head can come down for a second and then curl back up. Hold. Feel your shoulder blades, right? Hopefully you feel the bottom tips of them and not the flat, like broad part. Now, without a huge rotation, just float one shoulder blade off the ground. Come back to center without a big rotation, Sus. So just float, yep, there. And hold. And back. Float. Hold. And back. Good. And then just float. You can lift a tiny bit higher towards me. Yeah, there you go. Good. Nice. And so normally we do big rotations. This is more of just a little hover. And little hover. Tiny hover. Hover, yeah. Yeah. Now hover that first one. Inhale. Exhale, rotate a little deeper. Come back to center. Hover the other side. Inhale. Exhale, rotate a little deeper and a little higher. Yeah. Center. Hover. Use your breath here. Inhale. Exhale, point your sternum towards the outside of that leg. Yeah. And back. Good. One more each side. Try to keep your hips down. Now, we're going to extend one leg. Good. Now, without anything else, all we're going to do, think about the distance between that hip and that rib, shorten it to imprint, and then come back to neutral. If you need to, of course, you can bring your head down. But hopefully, you're going to feel your oblique quite a bit here. Even all we're doing is shortening and back. Couple more, shorten, back. Last one. Now hold. Float the leg that has the foot on the ground up. Rotate towards that knee. Back to center. Rotate the other way. Oh, it's so different, right? Good. And back. Couple more. And if you need a break in between, it's fine. One more. Guess what? Come back to center. Other side. If you need your head down in between, it's fine. We're just going to start with that imprint, right? So we're shortening the distance between the hip and the rib. It's going to slide that leg in towards you and then lengthen to send it away, right? If you're here, see if you can get a little bit higher. Good, yeah, and just imprint and down, good. And then imprint and down. And how does this feel on this side? Exciting? You're welcome. Couple more. Where's Kyle? All right, 2. Last one. Come back to center, float that leg up, and we rotate, and then rotate. Finding that bottom tip of the shoulder blade. Good. Couple more. Yeah. Try to keep both hips down. It's not so much about how deep you can rotate, it's about finding that beautiful rotation from both sides. One more each direction. Then bring both legs to tabletop. We're going to push one foot away. Inhale. Exhale, slowly rotate to the other side. Good. Slowly rotate. And again. Boom. 3. Try to lift higher. 2. Last set. Last one. Hug your knees in, you guys. Good. Now go ahead. Extend your legs. Now, If when we do this, you really have a hard time finding your imprint, that's okay. So keep your legs extended, imprint your spine. And then if that was really hard, bend your knees an inch and imprint again, see if that's a little easier. Okay? We're going to do some roll-ups. So bring your fingertips towards the sky. Armpits are gonna open to let your hands come back. Inhale, curl forward, exhale, roll. Yeah, good. Now, hold here. If you can reach your toes, reach your feet. If you can't, reach your ankles. You're gonna pull your armpits down your back, lift your ribs. Good. Now inhale, exhale, slowly roll. So you're curling your tailbone under, tuck it, yeah, there you go. And then let yourself come back. And then as you come up, let your fingertips actually reach forward. Protract your shoulders here, yeah. Good. And then back. So just so everybody knows, if we're retracting, it's gonna flatten our back and it's gonna be harder to roll. So let your spine round, let your shoulders help, right? So think of your pinky fingers reaching forward more than your thumbs. So your serratus can help your pecs. Good, yep. If you need to, you can use a weight or a pad underneath. And if that's still hard, you can always use one of your legs. Good, last set. Good, curl. And then forward. Nice job, everybody. Restack your spine. Good, and you can either sit like this or you can sit like this. Does not matter to me. Now, we're going to slouch our shoulders forward. I know, so now with the slouch, try to rotate to one side. It's really hard to keep that shoulder slouched and rotate, right? Now, retract your scapula, both of them. And it still kind of blocks you a little bit if you're squeezing them both together, right? So now, relax. We're gonna just retract with one side. Yeah, and all of a sudden, can really move a lot farther. And then only retract with your other side. Now, if you're rotating to the right, retract from your right, but let your left protract a little. Yeah, so let your left shoulder move forward more. Yeah, boom. So much easier, right? Yeah, just back and forth a couple times. So knowing that it's that beautiful synergy between protraction and retraction, right? And now we're gonna come onto our hands and knees for a second. And I actually like to do this with my hips pressed back, so I can't use my lower back as much, but it's up to you. Bring one hand to your shoulder. We're gonna take it out to the side and then rotate, hold that, and then try to get a little bit of chest extension. And back to center. Try not to extend yet, we're just rotating. Rotate, then extend, and back. Rotate, then extend. We have one more on this side. Think about your collarbones rotating up when you extend. Other side. And out. Now, is it bad to have your thoracic spine rounded? No, absolutely not. That's actually a huge part of the way our spine is shaped. What we don't want is over rounding or over protracting, just like we don't want overextending, right, through our lumbar, but it should be able to do both. And then come back to center, press your hips up, walk your feet toward your hands, let yourself dangle, take your hands up and over to one side, and then other side. Come back to center, press your feet into the ground, roll yourselves up. We're gonna take our thumbs, point them back, open up your collarbones. And then come back down. Nice job, everybody. Give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you so much for joining me. Awesome work.